2, 1. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. I am here with the wonderful Chris Kirchhoff and the magnificent Talia Cruz. And today we're going to be delving into the advanced TRS because unfortunately we have to basically set them some things straight because there has just been so much disinformation going around. We finally decided we have to weigh in and we have to say something just because customers, we want them to make an informed decision. We want them to make a choice that's right for them. And we want you to have the facts as they are. We don't want it to be, a bunch of rumors or hearsay or just even a battle between other stuff. We would just like to kind of cover the facts and go over some of that stuff. Without further ado, we're just going to break into our little agenda that we have here of basically why advanced TRS is the best detox product on the market there is. And I'll let Chris and Talia weigh in, whoever kind of wants to start first here.
Okay.
All right, I'll pick somebody. Talia, you're up.
Okay, why is it the best product out there on the market?
Yep.
When I'm looking for more information on a product, I generally will start off with how other people experienced it. Okay, so I trust reviews from actual clients with the product, and TRS was the only detox out there that was continuously getting these results that just seemed too good to be true. So I actually sat back on it and I was just watching a lot of these groups for almost a year, to be honest, because a lot of the stuff coming up, I just said, it sounds like it's too good to be true. It just sounds like a miracle product. Until people started sharing in their actual lab results with their levels going down. And then I was like, okay, there's so much more to this and I got to try it. And so, yeah, we did. We, bit the bullet and tested the product on our own with our family for 5 months and just had incredible results. And it was too easy. It was almost too easy to take. So yeah, love it.
All right, Chris, what do you got for us there?
So, we have kind of a joined history with this product since we kind of really started it. And, not a lot of people know this. I've tried to write a couple posts and share this information, but, I can remember the conversation that we had that goes back. It predates even before we even wrote the book. So we're looking at like 4-5 years, and we were having serious conversations about we need solutions. We need to detox from these toxic metals. And I remember all of the different things that we shot back and forth to each other. I tried this product, you tried that protocol. I can remember the exact time and place when we first brought up zeolites. I was in the gym one morning and I was like researching between things and I sent you something. You're like, yeah, I had just stumbled across these. And so a lot of the things that we're going to talk about on this video were the exact kind of trial and error that we went through together, trying different products before you heard about TRS and then told me about it. And then just so many things that we had tried before that. And then once we got to it, it was like this underground thing where we started telling other parents about it. And we weren't even distributors. I don't even know how long we went with this product before even being distributors, where we were just like promoting it and telling people how great it was because of results that we had seen. And then we're getting messages in from parents, none of whom know each other because that predated like Facebook groups, pages, ever talking about it openly. It was just like, nonverbal children starting to, have these speech explosions and all these, amazing results that people were sending us. And we're like, this is something so special that, I just think that we knew that it was going to be something really great.
Yeah, there was exactly like you said. I tried, I don't know how many things because I had my glorious military vaccines where my shot records were lost continuously. And like I literally tried everything. Mercury toxic from birth. My mom had 16 mercury fillings removed and put back in before she got pregnant with me. So my mercury levels were off the charts. And my level of insanity as a childhood showed it. But I tried everything. I tried everything in combination. I tried it alone. I tried every different timing you could imagine, getting up in the middle of the night, taking stuff every 4 hours, and just the saunas and the detox, every single thing you can imagine. I knew about TRS actually for like 2 years before I even bought it because I saw
you withheld that from me. I see it.
I withheld it from myself as well. But so like 2 years I knew about it. Finally, I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm going to try this because it's expensive, but whatever. I'm going to give it a shot. And then I used it for myself. It worked phenomenal, but I actually didn't tell anybody about it for like a year, because before I share anything with anybody, I want to make sure that it's safe. I'm going to take it in huge quantities, see what happens to me. God gives me this incredible ability to like bounce back physically from next to anything. Thankfully. But so I tried it for over a year before I even told anybody about it, because I wanted to make sure if I'm going to tell anybody to use this, I want to make sure it's safe. I don't want to be like, hey, cool, use this great product. Oh, it turns out it's poison. Dang it, here I go. So I used it for a really, really long time before I told anybody. And then you and I got on board. We started, and then I used it for at least a year beyond there before I even became a distributor for it, because I wasn't going to do it as a business. I was just telling people about it, being like, hey, this is good stuff. And it started getting so busy. I'm like, I literally can't keep this up because I'm getting really, really busy answering a lot of questions about TRS. And I had like 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs at that point. I'm like, plus my son. It's a little backstory too. My son's been on it for, 3.5 years now. My daughter's been on it since before she was born. So my wife used it her entire pregnancy, no problem, breastfeeding both kids. No issues whatsoever. Both the kids are doing absolutely fantastically. Aveen is like the smartest little cookie I've ever seen, and Tolly is a ham. Oh my gosh. So anyway, but starting there, and just to sum that stuff up, let's kind of talk about why we'd want to use a lab-created zeolite for purity. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Chris, you want to field this one for us?
Yeah. So, and again, this goes back to, we're stumbling across the science of zeolites and realizing that when you take a zeolite, which is essentially it's something you're finding in the earth. I don't think we need to go like too heavy into, all this science and stuff, but it's literally found in the earth. It's a naturally occurring substance. And what a lot of companies are doing is they're basically mining it from the earth. So they're digging it up. The problem is that these zeolites are so incredible at detoxing nature that they've been sitting in, the earth for thousands of years, absorbing these toxins. So lead, mercury, arsenic, aluminum, barium, cadmium. I'm just scratching the surface of things that are going to be magnetically attracted to the zeolite. They're stuck. They're stuck inside the zeolite cage now. So it's essentially detoxed the earth. So they mine them up, and the bond between the zeolite and these toxins is so strong that they're stuck there. So what the companies have to do is go through a purification process to try to clean their zeolite, which is impossible. So any zeolite that's mined from the earth will never be fully purified. So the best that they can do is take some kind of chemical acid and basically wash the zeolite in that to try to purify it. What Coseva did is say, we can do better than this, and essentially just grow the zeolite from scratch. So take naturally occurring elements, minerals that constitute a zeolite, but create it in an environment where it's not going to be exposed to that contamination like it would be in the ground, and just let it grow and create a naturally occurring zeolite free of all contamination.
Yeah, and that's one of the best things too, is because too, when you grow it yourself, then you can control all of the conditions, make sure there's nothing in there. You can control particle size. There's one thing you'd mentioned when it came to the natural zeolites, if they'll wash it with acids or they wash it with these, harsh chemicals and other things. The problem with that is because the zeolite sizes are still big at that point. When they come out of the earth, we'll use a comparison TRS to a natural. We'll say they're still basketball size versus BB size. TRS is a BB size, naturally occurring as a basketball size. Well, they wash it with an acid and everything. That's great. It hits the whole outside of the zeolite. And the problem with doing that is that the holes can be collapsed by it. You degrade the quantum structure. When you pull the metals out, you now have gaps and holes in the little cage. But the problem is they get done washing it, you're left with this giant particle size. Well, then they crush it and they mill it and they grind it and they smash it down. Well, now you're fragmenting all this, because zeolites comes in this soccer ball-ish cage type deal. Then when you crush it, well, now you've got 2 half soccer balls that it doesn't contain anything. The metals just fall out of it. So you haven't detoxed all the little particles in the inside. So imagine like a big basketball filled with BBs. If I drop that basketball into a tub of acid, and I wash the outside of it, that hasn't touched anything on the inside. So now when I crush that zeolite up and grind it up, I've got fragments of zeolites, I've got holes in the cages, and I've got all this stuff in the middle that was never clean. So now if there's all this free toxicity that's just going to be floating out for consumers to use. And so that's one of the some of the big reasons of why the natural created zeolites, they really don't work so well when you go to micronize it or when you crush it up and you try to clean it with acids. You've got so many problems that you've created by trying to solve one problem that the best way to do it is just create it in a lab where it's already not contaminated. It's completely pure. If it's all right with you, I am going to pull up. Oh, I don't know if it's actually going to show up or not, but we're going to try. We're going to hide Talia for a second, and I got to pull this up over here. Or maybe over here. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. Chris, I'm going to hide you for just a moment too, and then bring this over to here of the zeolite myths that were busted by the Natural News. Mike Adams, the health ranger. He talks about all these different things, the measuring capacity, how much cadmium is in them, how much lead is in them, how much aluminum is in them. And I'm actually going to hide this really quickly and bring up, we have a test results from a company that's out there. And I'm not going to share the name of the company because it's not important. I'm not here to slander another company. A lot of other companies, they'll bash one product or another trying to say this one's better than the other one or this one's not. But we'll pull this thing. Oh, no, I can't. Nope, sorry, I couldn't do that. But we'll pull this one up. You can take a look at the lead. The lead is 0.5 milligrams per liter. Well, 0.5 milligrams per liter, we're going to bring that up. And oops, that's not the one I want to do. But we're going to pull that up, 0.5 milligrams per liter. Here it is, show and stream. This is the one I want. And I got to hide Talia, sorry, Talia, and I got to hide this one. If we go to 0.5 milligrams, that's 500 parts per billion. When we take a look at the lab test from this thing, that's a lot because we'll go over to the, is it this one? I think that's the FDA, and hide this one. And we'll kind of try to zoom in here. Nope, that's not the one I'm looking for. I'm sorry. Oh, I found it. Here we go. We're going to show it in the stream. Basically, if we take the FDA, 5 parts per billion in bottled water, anything beyond that is considered contaminated and not drinkable. Well, we just showed you the test results that on this one, when we tested it, the 5 milligrams per liter, when we go in and we calculate that one out, we come over to here, the 5 milligrams per liter comes up to 500 parts per billion, meaning that zeolite product is 100 times the level of lead that is allowed in bottled drinking water, and that bottled drinking water is considered basically too toxic for anybody to use when it hits 5 parts per billion, and that zeolite is then way above it. So we're looking at these natural products of people saying, oh, this natural product is so much better. Unfortunately, some of the products that are out there, when you take a look at the testing results, their products are actually 100 times more toxic than what's allowed in bottled water. So these are some of the things we wanted to talk about. So let's head into why TRS is not synthetic, because we have companies that love to use scare tactics saying, oh, well, TRS is synthetic, you want to stay away from it. Chris, we'll have you start off with what that even means. You can use your ice cube analogy.
So the interesting thing is that these other companies are essentially using a tactic to manipulate people based on what you think you've learned. If you've done any kind of research, you're thinking, I want things that are natural. I want to avoid things that are synthetic. And as you just saw, if all of these zeolites, and virtually every other company besides Coseva, we're the only company making this zeolite from scratch, they're all mining it up from the earth, meaning they have an earth mined zeolite or a natural zeolite. If a natural zeolite has to be cleansed, which they're all trying to do, and they're washing it in acid, chemicals, etc., how is that natural? How is anything washed in acid natural? How is anything cleansed in any type of chemical natural? And when it still comes back with 500 parts per billion of lead, that's contamination. So it's not only not natural anymore, it's still contaminated. So what Coseva said is, like I referenced earlier, we can do better. We can grow this in a controlled environment, still making a natural zeolite, but free of all contamination. And so they use the word synthetic because it's made in a lab, but they want to differentiate themselves from every other company out there that's doing the same thing as everybody else. So we're doing something different in a lab, synthetic, but the zeolite is natural. Everything that makes a zeolite, all of the elements, the minerals, they're naturally occurring, and they're just growing this. They're growing it just like it would in nature, but in a controlled environment to avoid all of the contamination issue.
Yeah, if you were to
So
test
the ice cube analogy is like this. If I have a lab, if I go into a lab and it's a clean, sterile environment, and I bring some water in there and I put it in a freezer, freezes, I pull out an ice cube. It's not a synthetic ice cube, okay? It's just made in a controlled environment, and that's basically what's occurring here.
Yeah, same thing between you can lab create diamonds and sapphires. If you were to test advanced TRS in the crystals, you would be unable to tell them from one that was produced in nature or one that was produced in the lab that Coseva did, except for the level of purity, because the level of purity, just like a lab created diamond, they're more pure than a natural diamond. That's the only way to tell them apart. There is no difference except one is more pure than the other. And Talia, could you do us a favor? And I'm going to ask you to weigh in on the spirituality aspect, because we've heard some pretty interesting things. And I figure this is a good place for you to feel to jump in, because this is definitely up your alley.
Right. Let me pull up exactly what they said about it. Okay. Well, pretty much you get the people that will, they think that because TRS gives you more clarity, and you take the TRS, and a lot of the testimonials that'll come right away from that are that they experience more energy, that more clarity. And so this must mean that there's something else going on there. People end up tapping more into their spirituality. Not every person, but there's a lot of people that experience that. And so then you will get a lot of these well, they're mostly people that don't use TRS that want to chime in and say that this is messing with, your religion and your beliefs. And so, yeah, that seems to be a comment that'll come in every now and then. And TRS is it's not going to steal your soul. So my argument there with a lot of people is, do you not try to relieve a headache? If there's a headache that comes into play and you take something to give you some kind of relief, is that interfering with God's design in that you should just power through that headache? I mean, we weren't put here to be calcified. It's because of what's around us, in our air, water, and food. We're a lot of heavy metals and the contamination. So in result, we are farther away from, the original design. And so to just kind of clean out your system is not going against God's design. Anyway, I'm sure that you guys have received messages like that because it won't steal at your soul, and it won't.
Oh, the things I've heard, they're funny, but it's all right. So in summation, let's keep this from getting too long. I think we hit every point that we needed to. Chris, did you have anything else to add for us?
No, it's just, I think it's frustrating because, we've gone along now with this product for however many years, for sure, at least the last 3, 4, and we've never done anything but talk about this product. We've never done anything but promote this product. And I always tell people, you look at TRS, or its distributors, the groups, the pages, whatever, what do they talk about? They talk about TRS. You can find massive amounts of people that have joined these groups. Somebody was like, it's a scam. How do I have 36,000 people then in a group? They can leave anytime they want. You can find more testimonials for this product than any detox product out there, yet you can't really find any groups that have any considerable size for any of these earth mine natural zeolites. You can't really find any testimonials. And notice now, all of a sudden, these companies want to come out and be like, we're not going to promote our product. We're going to tell you why you shouldn't use TRS. And somehow that's just not, I don't know how that doesn't speak volumes to people, because like I said, we've never done anything but talk about TRS. We've never had a reason to talk about anything else. And now it's really frustrating when companies want to come along and push misinformation, namely because this product can help people. And so when I see people are steered away from something that can actually help them or help their children, it's upsetting. And when they're told lies about TRS and that's the reason that they don't want to use it, that to me there's something very unsettling about that.
Yeah, and that's the only reason that I even did this in the first place. Normally, I just leave this stuff alone and say, you know what, that's fine. I don't really care. I don't have time to deal with it. People are always going to talk. But when it gets to a point that, you know, a family's decision, like had I never found out about this and had I've seen something that, oh, it's synthetic and it's scary, I'd have been like, well, I'm not going to use it. Be like, well, crap, I'm trying to get healthy. This person says it's going to steal my soul or whatever else. That, or especially like for my children, my son, it helped him hugely because of the toxicity passed on from me still that I had, because, you know, the epigenetics, and it goes down, and we had a house full of lead paint and God only knows what else. But yeah, had I not used it and found it, I'd have been heartbroken. I know so many parents too that have had such wonderful results had they been steered away because of some disinformation or some falsities or scare tactics, or, you know, that's the only reason I wanted to bring it up. So in summation, Talia, you have anything else for us, my dear?
No, just the confusion that people will have with the aluminum, you know, because they don't understand that it's an aluminosilicate, and they're comparing it to the aluminum that's used in vaccines. And often, because we don't want to badmouth other companies, but the competitor is telling people that our product is adding more aluminum back into people, which, if that was the case, people would be getting worse. We realize this, but why is that so difficult for people to understand, I guess?
So it's the same logic, though. It's the exact same concept as the natural versus synthetic. You have people that have done any kind of research now. Certain words are like, they're like a key phrase that are going to set them in a certain direction. And so you hear the word natural, right? You hear the word synthetic. They have different meanings in people's heads. You hear the word aluminum, and most people are immediately shutting down because of vaccines, and they don't look any further. But we have, again, you know, if you study zeolites, and, you know, Adam, we could talk about this all day, the structure and the science and all the things. It's a completely inert substance. Your body has no use for it. It's in and out in 5 to 7 hours. Its only objective when it's coming in is to basically seek out these metals that have the opposite charge, attract to them, and then you remove them. There's no part of it that's being left behind. And you spoke to this. We have the lab results from people that have done before and after metal analysis, hair analysis tests, had people do all kinds of different metal analysis tests, and before and after tests, their metals decrease, their aluminum levels decrease. And so the proof is really there.
Yeah, if it was dumping a bunch of aluminum or redepositing around the body or anything, these tests wouldn't be coming back the way that they are. So I appreciate that.
There's really only a few people that ever really have anything to say about TRS. I've told you this, Tali. There's only 3 people I feel like that talk bad about TRS. The person that's never used it, the person that doesn't understand how it works, or the person that sells or is connected to a competitor's product. And really, I just feel like people need to ask logical questions and look at this, because, like I said, the funniest part about all this, it's sadly ironic, is that the natural zeolites aren't natural because they've been washed in acid, and our synthetic zeolite is actually a natural zeolite, and because it's never had crossed any kind of contamination, it doesn't have to be cleansed, so it's really much more natural.
It's not picking up already at the heavy metals around it,
right?
Like it's designed to
do.
Well, in sake of keeping this short, keeping it simple, I think, unless you guys have anything big to add to it, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for taking time out of your night, and thank you everybody who watched the video. Have an amazing one.
Bye.